Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us here today. I'm Mickey Feldman-Simon, the founder of I'm Back at Work, and Jody Commons is here with us today. Thank you for joining us, Jody. Jody will be talking with us today about how to get out of your own way and setting and keeping intentions. So a little bit about me. I'm the founder of I'm Back at Work. I have over 25 years experience in HR, business development, marketing and recruiting, and I started I'm Back at Work because I really wanted to help women who have taken a career break return to the workforce, and also help women remain in the workforce. I'm an HR consultant, and I'm also a career and an executive coach. And now we are going to get started, and there's the first thing I want to make sure that everybody can navigate the webinar panel. So your panel may look like the image on the left where it is expanded, or the image on the right where it is closed up. And to open or close it, you just click on the orange arrow at the top. And you can also drag the webinar panel out of the way. You just click anywhere at the top of the panel, and then you just drag it out of the way. So if it's obstructing the presentation at the moment, take a moment, click at the top, and move it out of the way. Now, in the last 5 minutes of the webinar, we're going to have a Q&A session. And to ask questions, just click on the questions bar and then type in your questions in the blue rectangle underneath, and we will address all of your questions at the end of the webinar. And now I'm going to turn my video camera off so that you can concentrate on the presentation, and I'm going to pass it on to Jody. Thank you, Jody.
Great, thanks, Mickey. I'm so excited to be here with you. I wanted to start by introducing myself a little bit, as Mickey did. So I live in Framingham, and I'm a divorce and family mediator. This is a second career for me. I actually spent 25 years working in the Boston Jewish community doing fundraising and event planning. I'm also trained as a collaborative law coach. I'm a parent educator. I teach parenting classes for people who are going through divorce. It's required by the state of Massachusetts. And in my spare time, I work with a Women's Connection company. It's actually how I met Mickey. We're both members of the Polka Dot Powerhouse. I'm here in Metro West as the managing director of a chapter, and Mickey belongs in Arlington. And I work as the diversity advisor for the whole company of Polka Dot. And then a little bit more about me. You can see all these lovely pictures. So over here is my mom and my dad and my stepmom. So I'm a child of divorce, and that's probably what led me to this great career path that I'm on now. I am a wife, married almost 22 years to my camp sweetheart. This was us when we were 15 and 16. I am the middle child. You can take that for what you want. I actually love being the middle child. I'm a mommy to these two amazing girls who are turning 17 and 20 in June, and I'm a girlfriend, I'm a friend. These are all things that I am. They're not necessarily who I am, but it's how I identify in relationship to other people. So about 6 years ago, I was working in an educational program doing development and fundraising, and my husband got a job working in Boston. So if you're local, you know from Framingham that requires a train ride. And so I lost my co-partner, my co-parent in terms of cooking and shopping, because he did most of that and he's better at that than I am. And I lost my co-partner in picking up a kid who was sick at school, and they were in 2 different locations. And so my work-life harmony became out of balance. And I, with the help of my husband, decided I would step out of that role and do something new. And I came to do a training as a divorce mediator. I'm a social worker by training, have a master's from Boston University. And I did this training for mediation, and it just was the exact right, perfect thing for me. So in that same opportunity, I've been able to do a lot of speaking, and I've created a few different presentations. This is one of them. It's very different to present it to you without seeing all of you. So I'm going to do my best to do it without your interaction. I'm a very visual person, and I'm a storyteller, and I usually get audience participation. So I hope you'll ask questions along the way, or definitely at the end. Okay, so what is an intention? An intention is an act or an instance of determining mentally upon some action or result. It's an aim that guides action. So you can see that on the screen. And when Mickey and I did a run through, she asked me what is the difference between an intention and a goal? And I thought that was a really good question. And so I want to talk about that a little bit because they're interchangeable in a number of ways. Intentions are more about internal goals and goals are more about external goals. And I'll give you an example. We have a house up in Maine and it's been under construction for a while, and I was up there over the weekend. It's the first time I was there without my husband. And so I had the opportunity to move some furniture around and put some things in places that I thought they should go. I actually did quite a bit of heavy lifting. I was sore for a few days afterwards. And my goal was to make the house feel different. My goal was to get furniture where it belonged. My goal was to move the boxes out of the front hall. But my intention was to make the house feel like a home because we've had it for 6 or 7 months and it's been in chaos. So I hope that helps you understand the difference. I'm going to use intention and goals interchangeably throughout this webinar, and I want to give a little bit of an explanation. So you can see here, goals are external achievements and intentions are about your relationship with yourself and others. So maybe now you're all thinking a little bit about some of your intentions and some of your goals. Maybe you woke up this morning and had an idea of how you wanted to spend your day, and part of your intention for the day was to get on this webinar. So congratulations on following through on one of your intentions. So I want to share this video with you, and maybe you've seen it, but it's really adorable. It's going to just take us out of the webinar for a second.
Jody, we can't hear it for some reason.
Oh, hold on.
That works.
I had my earphone in. Okay, we'll start over. Look,
I can be a shark. Now my whole house is great. I can do anything good. I like my school. I like anything. I like my dad. I like my cousins. I like my aunts. I like my Allisons. I like my mom. I like my sisters. I like my dad. I like my hair. I like my haircuts. I like my pajamas. I like my stuff. I like my rooms. I like my whole house. My whole house is great. I can do anything good. Yeah. I can do anything good. Better than anyone. Better than anyone.
Okay, so why did I show you a video of a little girl in a very pink 70s sort of bathroom that she looked like she was going to fall off the counter at any minute? Because this is a girl who loves everything. This is a girl who feels good about herself, about the people in her life, about her baby sister who was screaming in the background, about that pink bathroom, her aunts and everybody. And it's an example of a daily affirmation. I think she probably gets up on that mirror every single day and does that. And some people hold an intention where they, whoa, sorry, that's probably the next, the next video. Sorry. Sorry about that. Okay, back to the presentation. So some people hold a daily affirmation, and you might stand in your bathroom and look in the mirror. I ran this workshop on Sunday at a yoga studio, and a number of women raised their hands and said that they have messages on their bathroom mirror or in their journal or in other places that are positive messages for themselves. And so an intention can be about supporting yourself. One of the things that I do, I'm obsessed with yoga. I love to go to yoga class or do yoga. And sometimes it's really hard to quiet your mind during yoga. And particularly in the end, there's a time called Shavasana where you lay still, and it can range from 1 minute to 15 minutes. And I actually do an exercise where I go through in my head from A to Z, breathing in, I am, breathing out, amazing. Breathing in, I am, be beautiful. And I go from A to Z. I tell myself 26 nice things almost every day about myself. So it feels good, and throughout the day I can think of those things that I said and remember and feel good about them. So anyway, that, I forget what it's called, but it's like Kaylee on the bathroom mirror or something. I can share the link later if anyone's interested. So how do you live your life with intent. And why do we even set intentions? So we might set intentions because we want to achieve certain goals, right? We want to make money. We maybe need to get a job or a new job. We'd like to find a partner in life. We set intentions to be healthy. We're looking to be physically healthy through exercise or diet, or perhaps mentally more healthy. I know for myself, the reason I do a lot of yoga, I was a gym rat, had some ankle and foot issues, broke my foot, tripped and fell on a curb. And so yoga was how I got back to being strong. And I never want to go back to the boot camp and the classes and other things I did, because the yoga actually is good for not only my physical health, but my mental health. And maybe we set intentions to feel good. We're looking for ways in our life that we want to feel better about ourselves and our surroundings. So we're setting intentions to change things in our life. So normally, if we were in the room together, I would ask you to say it out loud or shout it out about what your intention is for today. But I want you to all just stop and think about something that when you woke up or last night before you went to bed, you said you'd like to do today. For me, I knew I was going to run this webinar. I'm speaking tonight. I went to yoga. I have to pick up my daughter. You know, every day is full of stuff, but my intention is to live that day to its fullest. So these are some of the things that are on my list. I'd like to eat well. So far, so good. Exercise, check, went to yoga. Meet new people. I'm hoping I'll meet new people tonight. Spend less time on Facebook. I don't know if anyone else has that issue, but I know that I can get sucked into Facebook when I mean to be doing something else, and a long period of time passes before I get bored and realize, oh, I was actually supposed to be writing for a client or anything else but FaceTime. So that's always a goal of mine. And of course, I want to rock this presentation, my first webinar. So, all right. What keeps us from our goals? So it could be anxiety around something. Maybe you're nervous to go to a meeting or a networking event. It could be that your partner, your spouse or partner gets in your way of something. They ask you to do something, they need a favor, and that can get in your way. Kids often get in the way. They, you know, you get that call from school that the nurse calls and they're sick. Your dog is sick, you have a pet. You need to make sure your pet is healthy. And it's easy to let all of those things get in front of what it is that you set out to do in the day. There's other things that can get in our way that are not external. It can be our own self-sabotaging. There are things that we really want to do and we just can't get to them. Facebook can get in our way. Social media can get in our way. Cleaning the house, the laundry. If you work from home, it's always easy to do everything else besides sit down on the computer and actually do the work. Taking a nap on the couch. Actually, in the workshop on Sunday night, one of the women loved this picture. She raised her hand. She said, I did spend 2 hours cuddling with my kitty on the couch today. It was her birthday. So maybe taking a nap got in the way. So how do you bridge the gap between the intentions that you set for the day, the week, the month, and actually getting them done? So there's a few different ideas. One is goal setting. So the most successful people in the world, and it's, you know, all those people that make a lot of money, write down their goals and they visit them periodically. So it could be every month, it could be every quarter. And many of you might be shaking your heads right now saying, yep, I do that. And others are saying, oh, wow, I never even thought to do that because I know in my head what my goals are. But by actually writing them down and then revisiting them periodically, you're able to see when and how you might have achieved those goals. And perhaps you can push further in your goal setting the next time. There's something called action planning. So action planning is thinking ahead to what you want to accomplish and laying out the who, the what, the when, the where. So Mickey's really good at action planning because she runs this webinar all the time, and she made sure she did a run through with me. We knew what time we were doing it. We knew how we were doing it. She has this great platform that she works on instead of some of the other platforms that I've been on. But I was new to it and I had to learn how to do it. So she made sure that she walked me through exactly how it was going to work. We got on early today so that we could be on the same page and put together a great webinar for all of you. Coping planning. So if anybody's ever been a part of Weight Watchers is really good at teaching people how to do coping planning. So when I was a part of Weight Watchers, they would talk about going to a party. So if I knew I was going to a party and I love to eat chips, or I love to eat cake, or whatever I love to eat, then before I went to the party, maybe I would eat salad or dinner, even something. So I wasn't so hungry when I got there. I would think through what I wanted to do when I was actually at the party to keep myself from eating the chips. So maybe I wouldn't sit right next to the chips. Maybe I would take a smaller plate and only put a few chips on it. For me personally, no chips, because as soon as I have a few chips, I could easily eat the whole bowl. Having a drink, if you want to be careful about having a drink, having a seltzer in between a drink. So coping planning is figuring out and doing a scenario in your head ahead of time so that you will be able to cope with the situation when you get there. Supportive planning. Supportive planning is saying it out loud. I went to an event last week and we were all going around introducing ourselves, and one of the women said, "I'm going to write a book this year." And then she looked around us in astonishment and said, "That's the first time I've said that out loud, but I'm really excited." And so by saying things out loud and telling people, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to find a new job, I'm going to get married, whatever it is that you think you'd like to do, if you say it out loud to somebody, and I can go back to that Weight Watchers thing too, if you know you're going to get on the scale next week, you might think before you put some food in your mouth. So supportive planning helps you have the support that you need. You've said it out loud. People are going to help to hold you accountable for it. Okay. So we're going to do a little bit. I don't know if you have a pen and paper by you. I'll give you a moment to try to find something to write on if you want to participate in part of this, this part of the webinar. Usually I have a worksheet, so we're going to do it a little bit together. The first thing you can write down are 3 things that you like about yourself. Okay, and you can take another moment if you need to. It's hard to judge how long it takes if I can't see you, but hopefully you're all writing something down. The next thing is writing down 1 or 2 things that you have that are limiting beliefs, meaning you hear a little voice in your head. I'm going to say, I hope it's okay to swear, the itty bitty shitty committee that's sometimes in our head that tells us we can't do certain things. A limiting belief. I could never leave my job as development and event planner at that organization because what will I do? How will I make enough money? How will I do X, Y, or Z? So those are limiting beliefs. So write 1 or 2 down. Okay, what's 1 or 2 ways that you could take action to move towards some of those goals or intentions that you might be thinking about during this webinar? And how will you take action? What's something you can do to get you to that next step? Whether it's in your job, in a relationship with a friend or a partner, something with your kids. Be smart enough to know when you need help and brave enough to ask for it. So now we're going to think about if there was anything that you changed in your habits, or if you wrote down some of your goals, what's 1 or 2 things that would be more likely to happen? Maybe you have trouble getting to the gym. I know for me, I put yoga in my calendar. And when I'm planning meeting with clients or friends for coffee, people who want to network, the only thing that takes precedence over going to yoga for me is a client meeting. And of course, my family, if they need something. But I don't go to extra meetings or different things during that time. It's sacred time to me. If it weren't in my calendar, then my calendar would fill up and I'd look at the yoga schedule and I'd never have any time to go and do what I love to do. What's 1 or 2 things you can be more clear about? Clear with yourself, clear with others around you. So I'll go back to that yoga example. If that's something you'd like to build in your life, exercise, how can you let the people around you know that it's important And if they ask you to do something during that time, to be able to say to them, listen, this is my sacred time. I'm going to hold it sacred unless you really, really need me. So how can you be more clear? And finally, who can you ask for help? Going back to that idea that if you say something out loud, you're more likely to follow through with it. But also, how do we ask for help? I think it's human nature that we don't like to ask for help. And I have a friend, she happened to be in the event the other night, so I asked her to share her situation. A year or so ago, her husband broke his leg unexpectedly in 9 places while on a business trip, and he was laid up on the couch for 6 weeks. And she wasn't really sure how she was going to get her kids to hockey and to school and to everything she needed to do and cook. And our community came together in Polka Dot Powerhouse. I mentioned that earlier. Somebody did a meal train and put it together, and she was blown away, couldn't believe that everybody, people she didn't even know, but people she did know, got together to give her food, enough for those 6 weeks. So where do you need help and where can you ask for help? And then take a risk. What could you do as a daily mantra? And a mantra could be a sound, a word, a phrase that you use. You can use it while praying or meditating. It doesn't have to be. You could just repeat it to yourself every day. It could be something you write down, put in your to-do list. It could be something that you put up on your mirror. I think my A to Z during yoga is probably my daily mantra, although sometimes I mix up the words. And sometimes just to play a trick on my brain, I go from Z to A, which is not as easy as you think. Okay. So how do we set realistic intentions? I think that's one of the things that people have trouble with. And I don't know about you, but right next to me is a bullet journal and has 2 pages full of things that I need to do. So do I have too many things on my list? Maybe. So let's go through and I'll tell you some things. Number 1, setting clear intentions for the day. So if you have too many things on your list, you're probably not going to get to all of them, right? Because how can you? Because it could include carpool, it could include taking your dog to the vet, it could include all sorts of things that don't have anything to do with your job and what it is that you need to do to make money or anything that you want to be happening in that day. So setting out clear intentions for the day, I tend to look at my schedule the night before, I write on a whiteboard in the kitchen, where do I have to go, who do I have to pick up, what do I have to do? Let's be clear. Time blocking. This is just an example. I will tell you it doesn't work for me, but I know other people that it works really well for. So time blocking is where you take your calendar and you block off periods of time to work on different actions. So I have 3 main things in my life that I should be spending time on. One is my job, one is Polka Dot Powerhouse, and one is a volunteer job that I have. So I tried it. I tried to say, okay, from 9 to 11, I'm going to do my job. From 11 to 1, I'll do Polka Dot Powerhouse. It doesn't work for me, but I do know that other people who have success with it. So if you haven't tried it, try it and see if it might work. People hold it as pretty sacred. You can build in travel time to the things you're doing. I will say I'm good at time blocking for yoga though. So that does work for me. Having less things on your list, I guess I mentioned that a little bit earlier, but in any given day, I think having 2 to 3 big things to do and the rest smaller, but not more than that, because it's going to be hard to get through all of those things in one day. Having reasonable expectations of yourself. So I know that many of us think we can do it all, and we try to do it all, and then one can end up feeling not good about themselves because you didn't reach the goal. You couldn't do everything on your list. You let someone down. You let yourself down. So be kind to yourself. Okay, how do we keep more realistic? Having reasonable expectations of others. My husband and I both work from home. He's out of town 2 days a week. We have a teenage daughter in high school who is about a half hour away. We're always really good at figuring out who's picking her up and who's dropping her off. And it got to a point where we were confused about who was in charge of dinner because I think he should cook because he's a better cook. And he thinks I should cook because he cooks all the time. So we were having little misunderstandings about it and then not having any dinner. And that's okay. I'm always happy to have a bowl of cereal, but my daughter wants real food. Anyway, we just said we need to check in more, and we're trying to set a time aside on Sunday night to look at the schedule of the week together and make sure that we're both on the same page about who is where, who's cooking, who's shopping, etc. So that's us having a reasonable expectation of each other. Asking for help. So this goes back to what we talked about in a previous slide, that it's okay to ask for help. Don't try to do everything by yourself. Take a break. So I mentioned I work from home. I love to take a break in the middle of the day, sit down on the couch and read or watch a TV show. It's one of the luxuries of working from home and working for myself. Maybe you work in an office all day, but if it's a nice day like today in Boston, the sun finally came out, go outside for a 15-minute walk, get some fresh air. Don't just keep your head down all the time and not come up for air. Taking a break is really important. Paying for help. So a lot of people, particularly entrepreneurs, think that they can do everything by themselves. So figuring out your time versus your money. So if you're not any good at social media, rather than not doing the social media that might be necessary to promote your business, you can hire somebody to do that. I'm going to do a little shameless plug. I wrote a book and it's actually launching on Thursday. I hired a book coach. I have no idea how to publish a book and how to maximize how to publish a book. So it was worth it. It is worth it to me to pay this person who's amazing to be my book coach and guide me through this process. So what's the ROI, the return on investment in your time versus your money? Self-care. And self-care is more than just taking a nice bubble bath. Self-care is really taking care of yourself through your actions, your behavior, exercise, and other things. One of the things I didn't mention, and I don't think I put a slide in here because Mickey and I had already decided upon it, but if you have one really hard thing to do every day, it's really best to do it first. And Mark Twain said, if you have to eat 2 frogs in a day, eat the bigger one first. And you're all probably going, ew, yuck right now. But the idea that you have one hard thing in the day, I know for me, it's the last thing I tackle. I do everything else, all my email, all my social media, check in with this, that, look at my list, make a travel plan. And then I do the writing for my clients or the writing for my book or my blog or whatever. And really, the hardest thing to do is eat that frog. And so I'm going to try, I always tell myself, try to do those things first and put the other things aside. So think about what your frog might be in the day. What is the thing that is the hardest for you to do? And see if you can do it first and then see how you feel. Okay, so I have given a lot of information to all of you and maybe took some notes, maybe have some questions. What are some of the things I talked about that might be in your next step? So did action planning speak to you? That was the who, what, when, where. Coping planning, how are you going to cope with a situation like Weight Watchers suggests? Supportive planning, saying something out loud. Are you going to have realistic expectations of yourself? Are you going to eat the frog? What's going to be your next step? And I just like this little, I don't know if it's a meme or what it is, but looking at it, you can see on the steps, depending on where they are, if you can't do it or won't do it, look at the expression on his face or her face. I'm not really sure what this character is. The more you get higher on the steps, the better you feel about what you did. So setting the goal or the intention, following through on the action, achieving it, helps us feel good emotionally and physically. So it's worth setting realistic goals so that when it comes to the end of the day, you can look back and say, yeah, I did it. So I want to thank all of you for being with us today on the webinar, and we have time now for questions. So Mickey, you're going to come back on and help me out with this part?
Yes, I am. So please, thank you, Jody, first of all, and please, everybody, this is the time to ask your questions. And I have to say, Jody, we didn't talk about the one hard thing, but there's also so much research behind that, by the way, that one, you should try and finish your day on a positive note. So often if you're doing something that's easier, makes you feel good, then the whole day sort of looks different. And the other part of it, often that hard thing is also an important thing. And once you get that done, it really energizes you to do other things throughout the day. And when all those other disruptions come, the phone call from school to pick up the kids or some emergency at work or anything like that, the thing that was most important to you is already done. So, And by the way, I love the itty bitty shitty committee. Okay, I'm gonna use that one if you don't mind, Jody,
You
as
can,
well.
it's not mine. I took it, I borrowed it from someone else, and they all say that copying is the highest form of flattery.
Right, I love it. We have one question here from Jennifer. So how do you let go of limiting beliefs?
Ah, that's a very good question. I think that some of those those mantras and things that we talked about are ways that you can let go of it. Being kind to yourself is really important, and limiting beliefs are often things that we heard as kids, not necessarily on purpose, but it could be from a parent. Oh, you've never been very good at math, or you weren't such a great dancer. I'm just making things up. Jennifer, I'm sure you're a great dancer. But I think we heard things in our childhood and throughout our life, whether on purpose or not, as women or as men. There's definitely gender stereotypes about what we're good and what we're not good at. So trying to work through what some of those things are and using positive language with yourself can help you get through and beyond those.
Right, and I would also add, a lot of the time these limiting beliefs are just not true. So ask yourself, is that really true? Like you mentioned I'm not good at math, but are you good in the math that you need to do for your work? Like, is that really an issue, or is that something that's just completely irrelevant and stopping you from moving you forward? So I'll just wait another moment if there's any other questions from the audience. And I also want to invite you all to join the I Am Back at Work Facebook group. It's for women only, and we support each other through the job search, career process, and daily life. So there is an I'm Back at Work Facebook page and Facebook group. So I invite you to the group. And I think that's the end of our questions here today, Jody. So I really appreciate you coming and joining us today and providing this webinar. We have a whole lot of thank yous coming through. So thank you, Jody.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here, and thank you, Mickey, for the opportunity.
Bye-bye.